Welcome to the I-80 Club National Fun League, the Week 4. God, the Week 4 recap. Schaef, I can't believe we're already 4 weeks in. How are you today?
Pretty good. 4 weeks seems like too long. I think the season needs to be over at this point. I don't know that I need to keep watching bad quarterback play combined with my head coach's puzzling decisions, combined with just like I understand my appetite for bad football is high when my team isn't involved in it.
Sure.
But it's actually fairly low when my team is the one doing very dumb stuff. Like just completely no showing for a half against the Steelers team that's 3-1, but they have to be the candidate that's the worst 3-1 team in the NFL. I can't think, and I apologize if there's Steelers fans listening here to the podcast. I don't really have a strong dislike of your team, unlike my co-host who hates you.
I do.
That your entire organization crumbles into dust.
I hate your guts.
His favorite moment of the Batman movies was seeing the stadium just completely disintegrate into, what it was. So
I can't push back.
Yeah. So that's not me. I don't have that level of hate. Now your quarterback, different conversation. But
yeah. You wish he was in the Dark Knight Rises.
Like you hate coming out of a game and being like, oh, well, the team that I like lost, but they were the better team. I mean, Minnesota wasn't the better team in that game from any sort of statistical standpoint. There is 0% of me that thinks if those teams played 10 times, that result is happening more than twice. Yeah. Like, maybe it's 7-3.
I was going to say 8-2 seems like a lot.
Because it's the NFL. But I genuinely am shocked by how poorly Minnesota played. And of course, they didn't have some guys because of injuries and their offensive line was kind of crap, but they played like complete and utter ass for pretty much the entire game and still had an opportunity to win because of coaching malpractice and idiocy from the other side. And I am just like dumbfounded by how stupid of the sack that Carson Wentz took, followed by his like just utter dumbfounding reaction that he was going to get called for intentional grounding there, followed by then dumping it off and clocking the ball on third down, and then mouthing over to Kevin O'Connell, what do you want me to do? Like, really? Yeah, I think he wanted you to attempt to make plays going forward with the football, you absolute, I almost said it there, an extra word, moron. Like, are you serious? It's honestly very similar to watching another former Eagles quarterback play for the Vikings and Donovan McNabb, where it's like this is a name brand player towards the end of his career that absolutely and utterly just sucks the life out of everything. Like, it's, social media is great because there's a history to everything that you've ever done, and they track that history. And sometimes you enjoy seeing it like, oh, there's a cute picture of my dog Slider when he was a puppy, or there's this, or there's these memories of fun sporting events. And then there's every post from Facebook from 2011 on Sundays of me just, ripping Donovan McNabb or just decrying the entirety of the Donovan McNabb experience. I tell people he is the worst quarterback I've ever seen for the Vikings. Yeah. And this isn't that because Wentz has already been a little bit better in some aspects, but it reminds me of it a lot where it's like you get this guy at the end of his career and you don't have that much in terms of expectations, but you at least assume that they're not going to be absolutely moronic upstairs. And then they prove to be absolutely moronic upstairs. So that's we don't have to talk about the Vikings beyond that. I got everything out of my system.
I honestly, I was surprised that not only did we lead with the Vikings, but that it turned into Donovan McNabb. You did throw out a prompt that I quickly went to just to see if you were right. You said they are the worst 3-1 team. The candidates, the Chargers, the Niners, the Lions, the Steelers, the Colts, the Bucks, the Seahawks, the Jags, and the Rams.
So the candidates there would be Jags, Niners, Steelers, right? Those are the worst 3 of the 3-1s. Is that fair?
I think.
Do you want to throw the Colts in there?
I mean, I would love to, but I think those are the best candidates. I would
you
love
to throw them in there.
Because I don't want to take the L on the Colts, but I'm probably going to have to take the
What
L
is this
on the
L that you're worried about?
Well, John and I have been debating them for, like 3 weeks now. We've been debating how good or bad they are.
This is like one of those I made a personal stamp and now I'm kind of like
correct.
Okay, look, I respect. If anybody respects that, I respect that.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's fair.
But I'm worried.
I wouldn't put them with those other 3 teams, though.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So who did you say? We said the Steelers, the who? The Steelers, the who? And
the
Steelers,
49ers, Jags are the 3 worst of the 3-1s there to me.
Yeah, that's probably right. That's probably right. Though, I'm not backing down just yet from my Jags are going to win the AFC South prediction. So I'm going to stick with that one for a little bit longer.
I have them winning the AFC South too, but you can't tell me that if you watch any seconds of Jacksonville football that you think it's a competent team. I mean, they win in spite of themselves. They could be 4-0 right now, but they have a loss to Jake Browning and the Bengals because they couldn't figure out how to finish that football game.
Dude, talk about a loss that is aging worse by the second, because that was a stink bomb of a performance last night, coming off of the stink bomb of a performance versus your team, a week ago, when you came on and picked the Vikings to make the playoffs, and now you want the season to end. Like, think about what they have done for fandom in the NFL.
When they don't make the playoffs by 1 game, just go back to Europe and be like, oh, they lost this game to the Steelers in Ireland where they appeared to bring the wrong cleats and all of their players were slipping. And Jordan Addison, one of the fastest players in the NFL, gets caught from behind because he clearly isn't comfortable running on that surface.
Not great.
Just an absolute moronic. And then, okay, I said I was done, but I'm not done. I want to talk.
All right, keep going.
One of the worst things in sports, when you already sort of hate watching your team play because they're not doing particularly well, is then they give you that little modicum of hope, and you cling to it. It's like you've been thrown off of the boat, and you have this like log that comes by, and you are holding this log for dear life because it might bring you to safety, and you might survive this moment. And then somehow, like, the log gets struck by, like, lightning. That's what Minnesota Vikings football is when it's so horrible. And yet there's just that little bit of glimmer of hope. And I glom onto it. And ever the pessimist that I am, I find that little piece to be like, well, they get a stop here. And they get the ball back. They're only down 10. And if they score quick enough, they're only down 3. And who knows?
It is amazing that people often on message boards will say, Mike Schaefer, he's so negative. Mike Schaefer, he's so negative. Which, first of all, like, you've been picking Nebraska to go 10-2 or better for like a decade. So first of all, wrong.
Hey, not true.
Second of all, you got like one good drive.
I said they would win 9 games last year.
Apologies.
That is not 10. I said
apologies.
8 this year, and I tried to stay at 7 forever, and I got bullied into 8.
Yep.
But
you are way more optimistic than anybody says that you are. It's not fair. Schaef is not a pessimist. He's actually an optimist with football, especially the Vikings. You win one game, and you're like, here we go. Remember 2 years ago, we did this after Dobbs had like one good game, and you're like, here we go. We're back, baby. And then he played the Falcons on Sunday for the Broncos, and you were like, this is horrible. I hate my life.
Dobbs came into an insane situation and then won that game.
Was that the Falcons game?
And then they beat the Saints like the next week. And everything is set up for them. And then all of a sudden they can't stop fumbling on Sunday night against the Broncos.
Oh, that was terrible.
They lose that awful game against the Bengals where not Dobbs throws the interception. Nick Mullins throws an interception to a defensive lineman on his back. Yeah, I mean, look, I can go through the horrors of Minnesota Vikings football, but that's not what this podcast is. Anyway,
I mean, it kind of is. It's kind of the horrors of both of our teams. It's really what it is.
I think sports fans in general can appreciate the my team's getting their ass kicked and they're going to lose. But what if this goes right? And then it starts to go that way. And then Jordan Addison streaking down the sidelines. You're like, he's going to score with like 3-something left. They can kick it deep and play a little defense. They might have, 5 or 6 plays to get the punt here. And then he gets caught at the 1, and then your coach runs the ball, and then you lose an entire minute of clock because your offensive line that your dipshit GM has spent all of this money on. You can't have a real quarterback because you're going to spend it in the trenches, right? You're going to bring in Ryan Kelly and Will Fry and these defensive linemen that are all over 30 and they have an injury history. It doesn't matter. That's where we're going to spend our money. We're going to kick people's asses, and we're going to be great up front. Except all those offensive linemen are now injured. The defensive lineman just allowed like 100 fucking yards to keep Kenneth Gainwell, something Gainwell. Who the fuck cares what his first name is? He's fucking trash, and he just ran for 100 yards on you. The amount of like fantasy football people shitting their pants because Jalen Warren wasn't playing as a late scratch. And I'm over here like, oh man, they already couldn't run the football. Now they've got something Gainwell. All right, this is great. And then he just runs right all over you. Meanwhile, you got that 6th-round pick in your back pocket for Harrison Phillips. Congratulations, Kwesi, you fucking idiot.
By the way, the Vikings are overseas again on Sunday playing the Browns. And
leave them
Schaef,
over there. If they don't win, they should have to stay in Europe. That should be the rule. You should have to stay in Europe if you don't win there.
They might want to stay in Europe because after that they'll be off for a week, and then they'll play the Eagles, the Chargers, the Lions, the now downtrodden Ravens, the Bears, Packers, etc. Like, whew, they're coming up upon a hellacious little stretch there. They gotta win this game on Sunday.
They'll win one of those games to like raise spirits again,
Ooh.
And it'll be like, oh, can't count out the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah,
you could probably just count them out.
Yeah,
I won't because I will hold on to that life raft.
Optimistic Schaefer. Optimistic Schaefer.
Other people can just count them out.
So that's what's going on with the Minnesota Vikings. Meanwhile, my favorite team played your least favorite team on Sunday night. And look, say what you will about the 2025 Dallas Cowboys. You're annoyed that they're on.
Plenty.
I have said lots. You're annoyed that they're on in primetime. You're annoyed that they're on at 3:25. Their games, at the very least, are going to be exciting as long as Dak Prescott stays healthy because they have an offense that can score.
Let's recap that statement just slightly. What was exciting about that Bears-Cowboys game?
Nothing. That was a terrible one. That was a bad game. They had some drops. The CeeDee Lamb injury happened, of course.
I don't know
and they kept dinking and dunking to Jake Ferguson.
Was that exciting?
It was exciting.
2 of 4 games were very exciting.
Very
2 of 4 games were maybe the best games of the weekend for their respective weekend.
Yes, so I would definitely. Yeah,
I'll give you that.
Yeah, what would have been the better game this weekend? You know, I mean, Bucks-Eagles was kind of a blowout for a while, but it was still like I was tuned in, like wanting to see what was going to happen throughout.
You're a big Bucks guy, famously.
Well, I was on Sunday. Go Tampa, but they let me down. But the Cowboys, of course, they tie for the first time in my life, Schaef, for the first time almost in my father's life. It had been since 1969 that they had a tie in a football game. So my dad, he wasn't even living in Texas yet, so he wasn't even a fan.
Did the Cowboys tie or did the Packers tie? I don't think we should refer to it as a tie for the Cowboys. The Cowboys led. They played defense. They were attempting to win the football game.
Yes, they attempted to win.
They were attempting to play defense. Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to say they did not play defense.
The Packers on multiple opportunities seemed very, very comfortable not attempting to do anything other than just tie this football game. It's hard to see, but Matt LaFleur just seems like he is he's uninterested in winning football games, I guess. We've seen this from him before, though. It reminds me of some of the questionable decisions he made in the NFC Championship game
against the Bucs.
Against Brady Bucs, because I think he's sort of dumb when it comes to counting possessions towards the end of the game, or maybe lacks the ability to play with aggression inside 20 yards. Though not to the level of other coaches, but it was delightful as someone who was just spent most of Sunday mad because his team played the morning game in Europe and they lost in stupid fashion. I got to finish my night with just a big smile on my face. All the Packers fans I know treating this worse than if it would have been a loss because their coach just chose to take the tie.
Pretty tough.
The whole little spat between Jordan Love, world's greatest quarterback, who threw about 15 interceptable passes on Sunday. Dallas needs to do a better job of picking those off. Or
they need to do a better job on that whole damn side of the ball. They don't do anything good over there. It's terrible.
Fair enough.
Dave. I hate it.
Fair enough. And then the spat between him and LaFleur was just great. The idea that this juggernaut wagon of a Packers team just gave up 40-some points to a CeeDee Lamb-less Cowboys team.
No Lamb. Two offensive linemen on
the ability to generate really any kind of great pass rush. No ability to stop anything. Looked like the Cowboys could run on them. It reminded me of just sort of the Packers defense last year, where it wasn't that good. The team wasn't that good. They won one game over the Lions to start the year in week 1, and people got over their skis a little bit.
They
love
got
it.
crowned.
It's great. I
So,
love
a
it.
couple
This is
things, Schaef.
fantastic.
You said we should not refer to it as a Cowboys tie. I thought as the game came to an end on Sunday night about the famous headline, Harvard beats Yale 29-29 from the early history of college football. That was maybe not as early as I thought it was. It was 1968. I thought that was in like the 1800s. But I thought of that. And then, you know what you just said? You got something else going in my brain. And that was, did Matt LaFleur know that they could finish in a tie? You mentioned Donovan McNabb a few minutes ago. Famously,
Yeah, I had no idea.
When he was the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, they tied with Cincinnati. It was in 2008. It was the first tie in 6 years. And he said, I didn't realize you could do that. I'm sorry, officer. I didn't know I couldn't do that, is essentially what McNabb said in that game. I didn't know that. I've never been part of a tie. I never knew it was even in the rule book. And as that game is unfolding like it is, I'm wondering, does LaFleur think this is going to go into another quarter? Or at the very least, does Jordan Love think that this is going to go into another quarter? Because, as bad as like what Colt McCoy did at the end of the 2009 Big 12 championship game against Nebraska, I tend to think, and I'm guessing you're in somewhat of agreement, if not all the way, he might have been concussed. And so I have always viewed that as Colt McCoy just kind of lost it mentally because he had a really rough day. I think Jordan Love is just an idiot and made almost like the funniest mistake that a team has ever made against the Cowboys. Like, all it took was one more second, and I would be laughing about this game. For every time the Packers do anything well this year, I would have said, yeah, but remember the Cowboys game in week 4? I would have reminded them about it at every turn.
I don't think it was a mistake. I think he wanted to do that. Like, I think he was going for the win there, and I think he changed whatever LaFleur was doing.
You don't think he might have forgotten that the game would have ended if they don't score? Like, that it's not going to go into a fourth down in the second period?
That's a possibility. The way that I took that whole final sequence is that LaFleur was calling one thing and he audibled to something else because he wanted to go for this opportunity to win. And I'm guessing he probably wasn't thinking of the clock as much there either. And you might be right. You might think that they would have another opportunity on the other side of a break.
Yeah.
I don't know how many overtime games Jordan Love has actually played in or if he's aware of how rules work. But unfortunately, the clock operator in Dallas is as shitty as he was in 2009. And
unreal. Same guy.
Josh Peterson just destined to have 1 second left on the clock for the rest of his life in any key situation. But overall, just an incredibly entertaining game. It's one of those where people were kind of like, oh, game shouldn't end in a tie. I was okay with it. It didn't, in part because of the schadenfreude that it gives me about my least favorite sports organization in all of sports, but also just you know what? Sometimes things are weird. Sports are weird. This is okay. It's not a playoff game. There doesn't have to be a winner. I can live with this being a tie, and we get to laugh about the stupidity of that extra column in the standings for the rest of the year.
For the whole rest of the year.
I don't know that the game's just memorable if there's a finish to it that isn't a tie. That's the other thing. It would have been memorable had Jordan Love completely lost the time on it.
That would have been pretty memorable.
If that play had never happened and they just run some kind of throw out of the back of the end zone like they're Russell Wilson, and then you're trotting on your kicker and he ties it and whatever.
You're right. The game is super memorable because it was, first of all, it was really exciting. It was back and forth. Every possession that the teams had towards the end of the game resulted in at least a field goal. And if the game just has a traditional field goal, other team goes down, they get stopped, they kick a field goal, we don't really remember it. Whereas, Schaef, moving forward a little bit, this game now is going to be something that hangs in the head or in our brains in regards to the Packers. I know for me, because I was someone, and look, I was also down in the dumps. You tried to talk me out of it. It's not that big of a deal. They have Matt LaFleur. You'll be just fine, Josh. The Packers won't win the Super Bowl. But I was very down in the dumps a few weeks ago. And now, it is hard not to watch that game and think, are we sure that this is the team that was delivered to us like manna from heaven that was going to run through the NFL? Look, the Eagles started 2-2 last year.
Of that.
You never were. The Eagles started 2-2 last year, and they had some dumbass losses in the process. So obviously a team can improve moving forward. But if you have ever been a Jordan Love doubter or a Matt LaFleur doubter, really the last 2 weeks, I don't think are anything that's going to make you change your mind on the ultimate fate of the Packers. And I'll say this too. The defense is what really surprised me. Like, look, Dak is playing the best football of his career, but to do that against that defense without their starting center, without one of their starting guards, and without either the best or the second best player on the team in CeeDee Lamb, like that should be,
better.
Dak, just this year in terms of how he's playing. Like that's a big yikes for the Green Bay Packers right now.
So what I wanted to kind of discuss out of this game, and I don't know if we're going to have enough time to like go full bore into it, but it's like a discussion I want to have with you at some other point. So like file this away for a radio segment or whatever. But when you get the like smart ass fans that tell you that quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott, like you can't win anything with them, they're terrible for your organization, yada, yada, yada. Isn't like Sunday night the perfect example of why those guys get paid?
Mm-hmm.
Because they look like one of the best players in the world at a sport that's incredibly hard to be good at. And like that's what Kirk Cousins looked like at times under Kevin O'Connell at the end of their tenure together. You know, before the Achilles injury, when he was just dicing people up.
Yeah, you were loving that Vikings team.
Or whatever it was. And like that's kind of, and I don't know that the Cowboys are going to the playoffs necessarily. But like,
no, that
when people dump on organizations for paying quarterbacks that aren't Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, you know, like what you're betting on is that you're getting a guy who's really, really good. He's one of the 14 best people in the world at something, and that 12 times out of 20, you're going to get an A, maybe even an A+ performance. And that happens a lot. But what we do in society, because we like to pick things apart, and I know this because I'm someone who certainly loves to pick apart the Packers or things that I don't like.
Sure.
We just focus on those other ones. Like there are people who will never appreciate Dak Prescott as a good NFL quarterback because it's, what's he done in the playoffs? Well, how many titles do you have? How many divisions have the Cowboys won? Oh, have they ever reached the NFC Championship game?
No, the answer is no.
But they'll sit there and they'll tell you it's smart to take someone in the first round who barely played football in college because his contract is really cheap. You can build a good team around him. Was he a good quarterback? We don't know. Does this make any fucking sense to anyone?
Yeah, you know, I as I watch him, especially now, I've really gained an appreciation for him over the years. I mean, like, first of all, he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, which is a job title that I don't think many people could handle, you know, in terms of like they're going to pick him
Quincy
apart.
Carter couldn't.
Yeah, they pick him apart for existing. And so the fact that he is able to handle that with the grace that he does, like, I think that I wish that I was that way in life rather than just searching through my mentions and quote tweeting dipshits that annoy me, you know? Like, I wish that I could handle things like Dak Prescott, but I don't. But man, the other thing, and he did this on Sunday, and Collinsworth, who I think is certainly past his prime, but he noticed him multiple times. He's like,
whoa. Why is Chris catching strays here?
Sorry, Chris. Look at how Schaef. Look at how he controls the pre-snap everything. Look at how he is calling out what's going on with the defense. Like there was that one thing they noticed where he like put his hands behind his back and he basically told Javonte, "You're running this way." And what did Javonte do? He picked up 6 or 7 yards. You know, like the mastery that he seems to have in the pre-snap environment, like that. It seems like he's like a quarterback's quarterback, you know, where the good ones, the legends are always like, yeah, Dak Prescott does a really great job. It sucks that, first of all, I mean, he is not a top 3 guy because he has his own limitations, but it really sucks that they are surrounding him with a bunch of idiots on the defensive side of the ball. Like my wife could tell you, I cannot stop gushing about what is going on the offense in terms of scheme and play design. The play caller is Schottenheimer, but the offensive coordinator is a guy named Clayton Adams. He was the offensive line coach and run game coordinator in Arizona. And so when they brought him in, I was like, that's pretty interesting. And then I read about him and I thought, this is really interesting because he's going to do stuff way differently than the Cowboys. Their situation, it's a very similar offensive line to what it was a year ago, and a guy who's had multiple knee injuries in Javonte Williams. And I can't believe what they are doing in the run game. And I can't believe all the motion and the pre-snap stuff that they're doing and that they were able to scheme that type of game without CeeDee Lamb on Sunday. And so it's just a bummer that it all feels like a waste and that this is going to be like Cincinnati last year, where they're going to be 7, 8, 9 wins, somewhere in there, and they're going to have to win games like this. They scored 40 points and they lost, or they tie. It felt like a loss. But like that's pretty difficult to do. That is seriously Cincinnati Bengals shit from 2024. With what Joe Burrow was able to do with that offense, where they had X amount of games scoring like 35 points and their record was like below 500. Like that shouldn't be possible in the NFL. And yet, I think we're kind of seeing it for the second straight year with a team exactly like this.
Yeah, it is. You ask yourself, like, what's worse in sports when you have the defense that can't stop anybody, the offense that can't score. I think it's probably still worse to have the bad offense, good defense combination. Because it's harder to watch those football games in some ways.
Yes. At least this was fun. At least the offense going up and down the field is fun.
I think that's basically what you kind of have to hang your hat on. Like, this probably isn't a Super Bowl journey for the Cowboys this year, but can they keep you entertained every week? And can they just catch teams on the wrong day and just outscore enough teams to get to like 10-7? The NFC sucks. The NFL in general, like I think there is a very healthy middle class where our teams reside in, and there's a couple teams that are just straight New York Jets level dumpster fires, shouldn't even be allowed on your televisions at any point in time. And then there's a couple that are really, really good. And if you could navigate that middle and just don't have to play as many of the really, really goods, you could get to 10-7 with this team. I wanted to ask you, are your opinions on a coach that you were not excited about during the hire at all through 4 games? What are you thinking on Brian Schottenheimer so far?
Love what he's done with the offense. I mean, he did hire the defensive coordinator though. So like there's like this push and pull of, I think that seems like.
Is there a pushback on that though? Like it doesn't matter who your defensive coordinator is if you don't, like how many guys do you think on that defensive side of the ball are playing for other teams?
Yeah, it's a great question, especially because they have like one of their corners that they drafted is coming off of a knee injury from college, and then Overshown is of course recovering from his sadly second knee injury in as many seasons that he had in the Cincinnati game last year on Monday night. So like that's a good point. And like, look, Eberflus was planning an entire offseason around a defense that would feature Micah Parsons, and then Micah Parsons got traded a week before the season. That said, like I still don't think that they would have been awesome with him, and it does seem like Eberflus. He doesn't seem, Schaef, like a coach who adapts to the personnel that he has, which I think is a big problem.
Ask Bears fans about that.
Yeah, exactly. So like I am certainly not out on the Brian Schottenheimer experience. They have gotten up for the 2 big games that they have played in a way that very much shocked me, against the Eagles and then against the Packers. They very much played down to a Giants team that benched the quarterback a week later, and the Bears' performance sucked. I want to see a little bit more consistency from them, of course, but I really like what they're doing on offense, and so I'm offering him some grace. I would hope, though, like, look, when McCarthy got hired, he brought in Mike Nolan as DC, and that was a tire fire essentially from the start, like this. And he moved on from him in the offseason. And so, like, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I don't think Eberflus is going to be back. I mean,
I hope not. And so, like, that's what I want to see what they do. And I mean, look, the problem before I answer that, or before we talk about the NFC, is like the guy running the organization is still an 82-year-old moron. I just, as excited as I could be about him, I don't even know if there's the fix coming on in terms of personnel. They have like $35 million in cap space right now. Like, at least they brought in Clowney, but like, do something. Try to do something. Maybe not this year, but next year at least. So the Eagles are, of course, they're the only undefeated team in the NFC. The Lions, I think, I don't know about you, I would view them as the second, if not the first best team.
I think the Lions are. I think I was there last week, right? Like that was.
Yep. Yeah, you said they're good last week.
So I think the Eagles, Lions are the 2, and then it's like a decent gap to the Bucks at 3.
And then
I
Rams?
think it's the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are the 4th best team.
Not
Rams
the Rams
are solid.
Okay.
I just don't. 1, I don't believe that they're going to stay healthy throughout the course of the year. 2, I think my bet on the Rams I think their defense is the better of the 2 sides, even though Puka Nacua is outstanding right now. We're like one Matt Stafford hit away. Who's your backup? Garoppolo?
Yes.
Is it Jimmy G? Which I'd rather have him than Carson Wentz dipshittery, but as
my dad would say, it's better than a poke in the eye.
Yeah. Feels like a very dad saying.
Right?
Sounds
Hey,
like
it's better than
something I'm
like
gonna-
you would say like something bad would happen. Hey, but it's better than a poke in the eye. Like,
Hudson's
good.
gonna come up complaining about something. I'm like, well, did you get poked in the eye? No. See, better than that.
Better than a poke in the eye.
Your dad's name is Tim, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be like,
Yeah.
I heard about this from Tim Peterson. Used to say. No, yeah, I
understand. That's a solid retort on the Rams.
I just like the Seahawks more, and frankly, they have a really stupid loss, or they would be undefeated right now too. So
I was gonna say, so the other teams that we haven't mentioned are the Niners, and
I don't think the Niners are that good. I really don't.
They haven't looked very good. They're where is it at? Their point differential is only +5. How about this?
Well,
the
yeah,
Bucs are
they
3-1,
have, like-
and theirs is 0, which is nuts because they have all the one-score wins.
Right. No, the 49ers, some of it to me is they escaped both against the Seahawks and the Cardinals, and I didn't leave either game thinking that they were better than either of the team that they beat there. So, we'll see with the 49ers. I'm just doubting them. I don't believe in it. I don't think that they have the same magic as they've had before. Though McCaffrey,
And their roster's not as good.
He looks pretty good, but yeah, they don't have. It just doesn't feel like they have the same group that worried you anytime you played the 49ers,
Mm-hmm.
And then after those 4, it's probably Green Bay 5. I mean, Green Bay could maybe be 4 or 5. I mean, I would take the Bucs over Green Bay easily. And when that game happens, and eventually I think they play each other, eventually when it happens, if it happens in the playoffs, that's going to be a dynamite game.
They don't play in the regular season. That sucks.
Yeah. If they play in the playoffs, that will come down to the final possession, who has the ball.
Dude, Schaef, that is a game from our youth. If we get a Tampa, Green Bay, cold playoff game, or vice versa, I guess it could be a warm one too. Man, I'm gonna feel like a 13-year-old all over again. Oh my god,
that's from COVID.
Yeah, I didn't like that game very much. Go Pack, go in that game.
Oh my God. You were so ridiculous about our 2020 Super Bowl champion.
Hey, but you know now, because I told you this last week, the Packers have moved to number 2. So go Bucs. If they play in the playoffs, I will be pulling hard for Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Over in the AFC, I mean, the game that we probably need to give more time to than we're going to actually have is Chiefs-Ravens. I did not see that coming.
No. Where are you and I at holding our Ravens stock?
Yeah.
Are we selling it?
I'll hold on. There's too much talent on that team. Nobody's going to want to play them in the playoffs. I still think they're the best team in the AFC. I know they have the inverse of the record of the Steelers. But if the Steelers and Ravens played tomorrow, I would take the Ravens.
The hard part now is that we can officially say they are going to have to go on the road.
I don't care about that because they already lost.
They're going to have to win 3 games now to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's fair.
They will not own tiebreakers over the Bills or the Chiefs, which is tough.
And I don't really care about that, I guess, because I just don't know that it matters in the AFC. Like, the Super Bowl went through Buffalo and it didn't matter. The Super Bowl has gone through Kansas City and it didn't matter to Joe Burrow. Like, great teams are going to win great games. I think the NFL's home field advantage is borderline dead. I really
the thing you want more is the rest versus the. In my opinion, you want the once, even though it didn't help the Lions last year, but you want the rest versus home games are nice, but I think it's more important to get the 1 seed now because there's only one team that gets a bye.
Could I argue the home field matters more in the NFC, where teams have to come into Philadelphia where the weather might suck, and those teams are potentially Seattle, potentially Tampa, potentially the Rams,
for sure,
the 49ers.
It's a bunch of warm weather dome teams. Yeah,
those, Green Bay is the opposite of that, where they play in it, so they're not going to be as affected as much. Yeah. Detroit.
Well, God, that home field. You want to talk about a home field shape that has seemed to gone away? The Packers in the playoffs. That home field does not seem to matter. When you and I were kids, remember the stat was like, when it's 30 degrees or below, the Packers are undefeated. And then Michael Vick ran all over them. And then they just lose all the time.
They did.
Young Mike Schaefer was having a lovely time.
Donovan McNabb, before he was terrible for the Vikings, hit Freddie Mitchell, I think, for like 28 yards for a first down. I think it was Freddie Mitchell.
That was in Philadelphia, but
that was in Philly. I thought that was in Green Bay.
Yeah, that was in Philly.
Sorry, I'm just running through my favorite Packers losses in the playoffs. So.
Well, the Bucs won.
The Seahawks in the NFC Championship game.
Hey, my favorite is the block in the Hufanga recovery in the end end zone in the snow game a few years ago. That one was an all-time. That Packers team was good, and then they did absolutely nothing against
the
San
22.
Francisco. That was the 21 season, the 22.
Yeah.
They just beat the Cowboys. That was the game that ended with Dak running and sliding, and yikes, bad times.
I had
times.
just moved into my house in Lincoln, and we didn't have like much for furniture. And we just had like basically the TV sitting on the entertainment stand, and it was lower than the couch that we actually had. So the whole like view situation of it was trash. But I remember just like laying on the couch, probably having had taken an edible, just enjoying the hell out of my life in that moment.
I think I had a few pops that night. I was
Slider and I just sitting there watching the Packers, just see their season fall away, trying not to get too much enjoyment out of it. But you know, that was a good time. We should talk more about Packers playoff losses on this podcast.
We could rank them. We could rank them.
But yeah, so what does this do for you with the Chiefs? What does this do for you with the Ravens?
Ravens, I think a little more concerned than you are, and I think it's because, first of all, let's see how long Lamar is out. But second of all, that defense is like now an actual capital P problem. Like I very much said, look, first game, it's Josh Allen. I'm not going to get too mad about that performance. And even the Lions game, like, hey, it's the Lions. I'm not going to get too mad. This Chiefs offense, they made them look like they were the 21 or 22 Chiefs offense. So, like, I think that is a concern. And, like, maybe I am rating them too harshly because, like, the quarterback is still Patrick Mahomes. They did have Xavier Worthy back. Like, I get it. But that was, I don't know, man. Happer was calling out the Lions as the bad vibes team all offseason. Perhaps it was the Ravens, and we just missed it the entire time because their season has just gotten off to such a weird start. I still think that they
think about who they played through 4 games.
I know it's brutal.
You got
brutal.
Buffalo, you got Detroit, so you have the 1 seed from each league. Is that right? Or no?
Well, the Chiefs.
They had the 1 seed from each league with the Chiefs and the Lions, and then the 2 seed in Buffalo. They were the 3 last year, and then you get the Browns in there, which was their 1 win. So I mean that's a brutal 4-game start.
Yeah, you like the next 4 games if you're a Ravens fan because you have the Texans and their garbage ass offense. The Rams will be tough, but they're flying west to east, and then the Bears. So like, dude, they have 3 straight home games coming up against very quote unquote winnable teams. So like, there's a world, Schaef, and then their next game after that's a Thursday against the Dolphins. There's a world where a month from now we are talking and we're like, hey, now they're 5-3. They figured it out, but that defense is an issue. They got to get that shit figured out. If I'm going to go all the way back in. I came away, I'll be honest, I eventually ended up moving the Chiefs game from like the big TV to a smaller TV to then the laptop because I just couldn't believe how well they were playing. I don't like taking L's on things too early, but you know, that was a nice performance from Kansas City. It was a nice performance.
So we're running through this thing now where the team that we've anointed as, hey, you got to watch out for these guys, immediately lose to a pathetic team the next week. The Packers going into week 3, losing to the Browns. The Chargers now going into week 4, losing to the Giants.
Yikes.
Who's our week 5? You better be on watch.
Ooh, that's a good question.
People think you're good, but this is the NFL and anybody can beat anybody.
So everybody is all back in on Detroit. What if they went to Cincinnati on Sunday and lost? That would be terrible.
See it. I took Cincinnati. So after having a blazing start to picking NFL games, got absolutely murdered this weekend.
Yeah.
Some of which my own fault for the hubris of which I have.
Hubris, thy name is Schaefer.
Yeah, there's a lot of hubris. I don't know who it would be. Do we have a team left like that? Is there someone everyone's talking about?
Well, so I mean, everybody loves Buffalo. Them losing to the Patriots would be pretty bad.
Ooh,
I would
that would qualify. I think that
would not,
qualify.
and it's a home game for Buffalo. That would be, but you don't want to have like the Drake May national television coming out party on your home turf. That would be bad. I really think those are the only 2 candidates.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Because, I mean, like the Eagles, first of all, nobody is like the Eagles are the best, but they're also playing the Broncos. So, like, that doesn't even count, even if you view the Eagles as like this dominant force right now.
Right.
I think we've mentioned the games. Wow, I didn't realize Tampa plays Seattle. That's fun as hell. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That'll be a good time.
Those are my teams 3 and 4 in the NFC. They're looking for supremacy here.
Hey,
So.
how about the primetime games this week? So we got Niners, Rams. I think that's interesting. We just mentioned Pats, Bills, and then Chiefs at Jaguars on Monday night. There's some really interesting games. Now the noon and the 3:25 slate.
That game just screams 16-13, stupid stuff happening in the red zone.
And then the Chiefs win.
What is sort of annoying about the Chiefs is that you got the glimpse of hey, they are still under the hood, can still be really good. Don't minimize this team at your own peril.
Yeah.
But then they're going to turn around and play a sleepy shit game against Jacksonville, right? This is how it works.
Probably.
They get up and they just crush Baltimore, and it's damn, they're back.
Chiefs are back.
And then they're going to play Jacksonville,
garbage.
and it's just going to be dumb. I'm annoyed by this.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Some of it is I tried. I gave Jacksonville a chance. I tried watching them through the first 2 weeks.
You took it around for a test drive. You're
I wanted to be all in on Travis Hunter, and that just hasn't done anything.
No, it has not.
And so now it's the only thing I liked about this organization was Travis Hunter, and he's not doing much of any reason to watch. Everything else, regardless of coach, feels the same for the Jags to me. They're 3-1. I took them to win the AFC South. I took them in a wins pool. I believed in them. And yet no part of me wants to ever watch them play because their games they horrify me. They're not a fun team. And it's
and now we get them on primetime Monday Night Football. Well,
at least I guess you get Mahomes with it. But I'm just worried. Not worried, but I'm just anticipating a 16-13 schlock fest there. So,
we'll be on next week to recap the schlock fest and talk about, let's see, Cowboys, Jets, absolutely gross, and Vikings, Browns over.
Doesn't get better, yeah.
Wow, the only
that
NFL
game deserves
podcast,
to be in Europe.
The only NFL podcast that covers the Vikings and the Cowboys like we do. This has been another edition of the National Fun League. Real quick, Schaef, before we go, we normally don't read comments on the YouTube unless they're in Super Chats, but Justin has been firing off some pretty funny ones. I want to read a couple of them. He says, I just imagine your dad visiting you in the hospital after spinal surgery and saying, it's better than a poke in the eye. That would be pretty funny. And he also adds, I agree. Let's go over every Packer loss ever. Maybe, Schaef, an off-season thing we could discuss the losses that please us most from our rivals. And we can just bask in the joy. And then people could say, yeah, but the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years. And yeah, but the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl. And we can say, yes, but you know what? Being a fan sometimes is about enjoying the downfall of the teams that you hate the most. I'll throw one because I think my wife is watching. I'll throw one that she will enjoy. Remember the time that the Giants were killing the Eagles and then they melted down and Deshaun Jackson had the punt return? That was hysterical. I was laughing so hard.
It was 2010? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I was
awesome.
I was in Columbus in that year of my life working for the newspaper, and I had
Were
Sundays
you covering
off.
trains?
No, that wasn't trains yet. Trains came next.
Oh, okay.
I left Columbus to go cover trains.
Wow. What a job.
So I had one day off. I worked 6 days a week at the newspaper, and my one day off was Sundays. And so I would go, I had a group of friends that introduced me to this, and we would just go over to the sports bar and get there at 11:45 and be there till 6:45 every Sunday watching every NFL game. And I remember the Sahara, the name of the bar, just erupting on that punt return from the
Deshaun Jackson.
They were a horrible Eagles team, right? They weren't particularly good, or were they around 500? I forget.
I thought that they made the playoffs that year.
Maybe they
did. They lost. Oh, that was the Michael Vick team that lost to the Packers on their way to the to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
So there was another Eagles team that pulled off a win against New York that came out of nowhere when they were in their kind of shittier phase of Eagles run, whenever that would have been. Kevin
those
Cole
years,
quarterback or something. Look, anytime you can celebrate your least favorite team, and in your case, you have multiple. I think it's got to be hard for you. I'm sure there's some Commanders hate in there somewhere too. You have to. Are the Commanders? So if you ranked them, it's a clear number 1 Eagles, clear number 2 Giants, or how often?
Well, remember it's Steelers. The Packers have now surpassed the Steelers in terms of hate, but in terms of division, yes, it's always been depending on the success that the teams are having, Giants or Eagles number 1, and then the number 2, the same team, and then a distant third, the Commanders. They've just, I mean, even last year, like, oh, cool, congratulations. Like, I don't, they've never gotten under my skin, but they've also never won a Super Bowl in my, like, watching life of being an NFL fan. If they want, if they won a Super Bowl with Jaden Daniels over the next couple of years, they'd be like, this sucks, and you're going to be an annoying nuisance for the rest of my life. Talk about a team, and we got to go, but, man, a team, Schaef, that, yikes, what the hell's going on with that? I know that they've had injuries, but I loved the regression year for them to come, but this has been maybe even worse than I expected it would from the Commanders this year. Just not fun to watch.
A lot of teams in that middle, the middle mediocrity. That's what the NFL has a lot of this year.
Indeed. We'll find out what's going on with the middle mediocrity in our Week 5 recap, which we have coming up next week. So we hope to see you here for another edition of National Fun League. If you're listening after the fact, you can join us live on Tuesday morning, 7:45 a.m. Central Time is when Mike Schaefer and I record this. We're going every week this year. We've made it 4 weeks in. Schaef wanted to cancel the pod before the year, and I said, no, Schaef, we have to keep it going. I love the NFL, and I love the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, that's not true.
Just kidding. It was me because I was sad. But we're here, and we are loving talking about football, even when our teams go a combined 0-1-1 over the course of an NFL weekend. Schaef, we are off of the idle week. What do you have coming up this week at Husker 24/7 Sports?
Just a normal week ahead for us, which means the Husker 24/7 podcast will drop here on Tuesday. Of course, Husker 24/7 daily, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. And then the Hypecast returns. We've got our guests locked in. We've got our time to record it. I feel good about it. This is a Hypecast. This is a Hypecast guest that's been on for 5. I think he's been on every year since we started.
That narrows it down.
There's probably 3 people I can think of that have been on every year that we've had the Hypecast with a guest. So, interestingly enough, you all work at the same radio station. So
I was going to say I have a guess then on who this person is.
Yeah, there might be someone else. I should go through that. I should do stats.
That'd be fun. That's a good idea.
Like who's been on for the most wins? Who's been on for the most losses? Has anybody ever been on for like never seen the team
all wins? All losses
in that situation. The upcoming guest usually has done bigger games on Nebraska's schedule, and specifically chose this one with, I believe, the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick.
Wow, so that is wild.
They had to do work schedules, but
that's fair. That's fair.
So
you'll have that coming up. You'll have a Sunday side session, I assume, on Sunday morning as well.
Yeah, I gotta figure that one out. Don't have the guest yet for that. Okay. Don't even have the time of which it's going to be recorded, as I have a very busy Sunday ahead. I probably won't even be able to
because of the Vikings.
I don't know how much of the Vikings and Browns I'll be able to watch. So
what if you did a Saturday night recording session for the Sunday?
Quite possibly what it's going to be. So I have to like put out feelers for who's dumb enough to want to talk about that game on a Saturday night. So
all right,
we'll see what we can find.
Well, good luck to you, Schaef. So that's what he has coming up at Husker 24/7 Sports. Jack Mitchell and I have a subscriber-only pod coming up on Wednesday night. We would love to see you there. Volleyball State, by the way, went public earlier today. You can watch it on this same channel that you are watching the National Fun League, or you can download it on the Volleyball State podcast feed. We will have, how about this? I'll announce it. Ryan McGee on this week's I-80 football show. We'll have Ryan. That'll drop on Thursday. Big Ten breakdown.
Are you guys talking baseball?
Friday. I was not planning on asking him. He's not a baseball. He's a NASCAR guy and a college football guy.
I mean,
there'll be no baseball
book.
That's true. That's true. Okay. You know what? Fair. Good.
He
good.
Goes up with the College World Series every year.
Crap. Okay. You know what? He is somewhat of a baseball guy. Not a baseball guy. All right. Good luck to your Guardian, Schaef.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right. He's Mike Schaefer. I'm Josh Peterson. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for joining us on the National Fun League. Bye-bye.